Welcome everyone back to the Crimson 15 podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Sin. Be sure to follow us over on Twitter at C15 Podcast. Join the discussion over on Discord, link in description below. If you like these long format reviews, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and hit the bell for notifications. So we're up to episode 7 in Carmen Sandiego, and this episode has some cool action. The setup is okay. I really don't like this new Paper Star character. She's too goofy, and her, like, of course she does the origami thing, and that's like everything she does. That's like all her weapons. She's constantly throwing origami things at everything. And the caper to steal the Magna Carta, kind of a cool setup. I like that. It's an historically important document and all that jazz. But overall, Zach and Ivy are mysteriously not in this episode. They're not even mentioned. Like, they're not, oh, they're on another mission, oh, they had to stay behind. It's just Carmen and Player. They don't even mention the other two people. But we get right into the episode, and Maelstrom, he's like giving this little speech about how crazy he is. It's really weird. And like, they're like, oh, the Magna Carta, because it's supposed to represent, because they say later in the episode, but basically it's like an ancient set of laws, pretty akin to, like, they make comparisons to the Constitution, which I guess it's a fair comparison. But if they steal it, it's kind of like they're in your face. Take that, Law and Order. We're the thieves. We took it. Okay, I get it. And of course, I'm assuming these things are worth a ton of money too. But they pepper in jokes, and the jokes aren't funny. They're just weird and dumb. So he's just giving this big old speech about what they're gonna steal. And it's like, oh, this is right here. And then you look back, and everything looks like those weird, the Rorschach test, the ink blots. And Coach, what's her face? Oh, it looks like a lion sniffing itself. And if you look at it, it totally looks like a lion sniffing itself. Oh, wrong picture. Like, what? What a weird, stupid joke. But I guess all of the known copies of the Magna Carta are going to be on display in Mumbai. And when I hear Magna Carta, again, if anyone remembers this, million years ago, there was this really okay RPG called Magna Carta back on the PlayStation. I think there might have been some on PC too, but the artwork was just absolutely phenomenal. I'll have it up on screen, but it's really, really cool. So when I heard Magna Carta, I thought of that, then I thought of the actual historical document. But they're like, oh, who are we going to send on this mission? And of course, if from the last episode you saw the origami girl, so I'm assuming, oh, we're stealing paper, so we're going to send the paper girl. Okay. Shadow-san doesn't like her. Much like how he didn't like Carmen, he doesn't like her because I guess Paper Girl she does things by her own rules. She doesn't really listen to protocol, very much like how Carmen was. But they're very, very different people. They take a vote, everyone votes on it, but Shadow-san, and haha, they're going to send her. We get Carmen, and she's in Dubai, and she knows that he's going to go for these the Magna Carta papers, even though Player's like, there's been no chatter about this. There's nothing like on the dark web, wherever, how the hell he gets this information about V.I.L.E. But she's like, oh, I know him. He's going to try to take it. That's so coincidental, because everything else up to this point, there's always been some type of, there's a V.I.L.E. documents about this, and they're going to strike this target next, so they knew where to be. So this one is pure on Carmen's intuition. So of course she's right. Then it gives a little breakdown of Magna Carta, a very, very condensed version of how this came about. But it's nice to have this type of information. I love the little tiny bit of education that's in the episode. Maybe some kid will look this up and maybe do a book report or something, and this inspired that kid to do this. I think that's cool. I like that idea that they're still going with the educational aspect of Carmen Sandiego. But we get Carmen here, and of course she's like, oh, I want to do one let's check of the perimeter and everything. And then she finds, it's later that night, and then you find that one of the cameras has been knocked out with one of these little paper stars. And then she's like, oh, it's what's her face? I remember her from a long time ago. Flashback. And I'm like, oh God, we're not back at the school. That's the worst part of this show, was everything that took place in the school. But it's only for it's like maybe a minute. Like, oh, thank God. But she remembers her from, remember how she didn't make that year? She didn't graduate, basically, so she had to stay back another year. During that year, that's what she meant, Paper Star. And she's there to steal everything, and then she skips everywhere, and she's always like humming a song. It's very irritating. You can't see it, but I'm rubbing my eyes. It's really irritating and dumb. And if you're supposed to be like this master thief making noise, technically leaving a paper trail over. She leaves devastation everywhere. She's a horrible thief. She's a kind of a. She'd make more sense for her to be like an assassin, not a thief. And I remember in the last episode, Maelstrom told her, "Bring me Carmen's head or hat." I don't remember, his accent is weird, but he basically told her to kill Carmen. But then she has multiple opportunities to do it, and she doesn't. So whatever. But she's there to steal everything. Carmen comes down. They have a little standoff here, and this is where it's cool. It's a cool action scene. It's just ridiculous because Paper Star is literally throwing dozens and dozens and dozens of these little paper stars, and they're not pre-made. She's folding them and throwing them as as the fight goes on. So somehow she has Superman-like speed to fold these papers and throw them, and they're strong enough to like cut through concrete and marble. There was an anime called Read or Die. I want to guess 10 years ago, but there was a woman who had like paper it was like a superpower. It was like, I don't know if it was magic or if it was like in comic books it was like a superhero power, but she could like manipulate paper and do stuff with it. She doesn't have this character. Paper Star doesn't have that kind of power. She's literally just folding it, and it's not like some type of magical thing. So she's throwing them, she's dodging. Kind of reminds me of a Bullseye from Marvel Comics because you can make a weapon out of anything. So she's throwing dozens and dozens of these freaking paper stars at her. I mean, it's going everywhere. And this whole time I'm thinking, her hands aren't covered, so she's leaving fingerprints on all of these things. She's leaving such a huge crime scene. Shouldn't she be more, I don't know, more like a thief? But this fight goes on and on and on. And while cool and interesting, it's a kind of a dynamic fight because Carmen's on the defensive like the whole entire time. She only gets a couple of hits in, but it's just stupid that it has to be paper and not actual like weapons. She runs out of paper and she like grabs the brochures that are at the museum and uses those as ninja stars. And of course, there's plenty of brochures around, and these things are like manhole sized things. And they're just, again, the whole thing starts up again. She starts throwing them everywhere, and she can't stop her. As she's making her way towards where the Magna Carta is on display, all the, like it's supposed to say 17 copies of it. Carmen's like walking and being like super quiet and everything, but she knows you're there. It's really weird. She wraps her up like in one of the banners that was there, and then she ends up cutting through the glass again with a piece of paper. Whatever. She steals a bunch of them, but Carmen had like a little knife in her pocket, and she cut the paper, and then she goes and chases her, and she's gone. And that was really funny. I guess she ended up cutting her the brim of her hat, and she seemed to be more upset about that than actually failing. So Carmen failed. She didn't stop the caper from happening. The next morning, of course, the police are there, and I guess it's all ACME. They were able to override the government. Okay. And of course, someone got after me. Well, I don't know, was it in the comments or was it on Twitter? I forget. Oh, you said Chase was stupid. I didn't want to watch your video. Well, in this episode, Chase, again, is a moron. I don't know what this person really liked this character. Maybe in the later episodes, he does something smart, but he has yet to do anything correct, anything smart, to deduce anything. He's just a moron. And he sees a little, I guess, paper star left, her little calling card. Looks like a little panda bear thing. Oh, Carmen stuck on up arts and crafts. And of course, he blames everything on Carmen Sandiego. And Julia, the smart one's like, well, this doesn't fit anything that Carmen Sandiego's ever done. She doesn't use these paper weapons. She doesn't leave a mess. She comes in quiet and leaves. And what I found a little disheartening was she tries to, she goes, oh, origami, the ancient Japanese art of folding paper. And before Chase even says anything, she puts herself down. She's like, oh, I know, that's boring and stupid information. You know, so from what I get from that is Chase is putting her down, Julia down so often and so much, she's even putting herself down, you know, to save him the time. Chase is a jerk. He's a complete ass. I don't like this guy. Unless he does something in the next couple episodes that redeems his character, he's a complete jerk to everyone. Then you see like there was the battlefield basically of their little paper fight, and there's just stuff everywhere. And they, they get a call from the chief, and it's that little hologram thing. And again, there's this humor. Oh, this card got, cleared out the police and everything. It's so great. And then the chief saw, oh, you get 10% off the company store. I don't know if she was joking, but then Chase is like, oh, do they sell, what did he say? He said something like, shaving cream and all that. And then she looks at him like he's an idiot. Well, you're the one who started the stupid joke. He's trying to have a little banter back and forth, but of course, He's an idiot for trying to be funny, but the chief is hilarious for trying to be funny. They have security camera footage from across the way, and you see Carmen. And then he's like, haha, there she is, that's Carmen. But Julia, being the smart one, notices that there's a little bit of like a blur in the background, and they zoom in, and you can kind of see that it was another person. And they're like, hey, there was another person here. And you can kind of tell that there was a struggle and a fight. So, and there's no dead guards or anything, no reported missing people, so it had to have been another thief. I mean, just use common sense. So they're kind of suspicious about it. And even the chief is like, remember when you made the mistake when Ivy dressed up like Carmen when was leaving that mansion thing when they were trying to get the those paintings. But I go back to the fact that why didn't he just arrest her? But whatever. And it's like, oh, don't make that same mistake again. Of course he shouldn't. We get back to Carmen, and again, I thought we would see Zach and Ivy somewhere, but they're just nowhere to be found. She's telling player, "Hey, check all. We gotta catch her." Apparently, this protocol about when you're a thief in V.I.L.E, if you steal something, you give it to another thief, and they take it to like a safe house or a drop box or something somewhere, and then that's how it moves along. That's never happened on any of the other capers they did. They just stole it and took it back. So they just like added this extra element of BS just so they have another chance to catch her. The outfit that Carmen is wearing is just horrible. It looks awful on her. It's very leggy, but it's just like this wacky looking romper thing. It looks terrible on her. But player's like, oh, I got this facial recognition software. If we find her anywhere, if she's anywhere in the country still, we're gonna find her. We cut back to our goat boy, and he's supposed to be the other agent that she drops off the thing, and he takes it to wherever it's gonna go. She's in some like temple place or whatever, some underground ruins, and it's kind of cool. And then they do like this weird spooky thing, but she's always like humming this dumb song. I don't know if it's supposed to be scary or if it's just like that's like her thing. She's sitting there making the origami thing, and then he's like, oh, then he says, what does he say? The fish swims at midnight. Why not deliver the dozen red orchids by midnight? And it's like the stupid code word. It's unnecessary. She knows who he is. He knows who she is. If this was a busy, like, I want to say like a cafe or a park, there's lots of people, one spy sits on the side of the bench, opens the paper, the weather seems nice and this, and that's like the code word for the drop off. But that doesn't work here because there's no one here. That's just them two. It's a stupid spy trope that wasn't necessary. Then he's like, keeps repeating it, and she doesn't answer him. She's like, oh, where's the drop-off at? And he's like, no, that's not how it works. You give it to me, I do the drop-off. Oh, they do that because someone might get caught, and you look like someone who might get caught. And he's like, what the hell, you freaking dummy? I've done more jobs than you have. And he's, which is true. She, he goes to reach for it, and she uses one of her little paper things to kind of give him a paper cut. Oh, you give me a paper cut. Oh, tell me where this place is. It's going to get a lot worse. So, and of course, he cowers in fear because every man's a freaking idiot in this show. And he's literally like screaming for his life, like he has no ability to fight back, right? Why couldn't there have been a little battle? And even if there was a fight and she kicked his butt, at least he would have done something. No, he literally just cowers and screams like a little kid. But of course, he gives up the information. He contacts V.I.L.E saying, hey, she's headed to the drop off, and they're like, hey, how the hell did she find out about it? She's like, yeah, she's psychotic, and she shows his hands. It would have been great if she chopped off his fingers, but I'm pretty sure she just, paper cutted his fingers, which would be pretty awful because those freaking hurt like hell. But Maelstrom's like, I guess it's just like a nickname or something. I said a term of endearment. I don't know what the hell he said, but that's what everyone said about him, that he was crazy, and they were right. She's crazy too. Cut back to Carmen, and player's like, oh, we got a photo of her. She's on one of these boats. She's on her way to the Taj Mahal, and she bought a ticket for a train, and she used the name something Origami Susie or something stupid like that, like a really stupid fake name. And Carmen's like, oh, she used that name just so I would find her, and it's like a come get me kind of I put it out there easy for you to find because I want you to come and try to get this thing back from me. She takes up the challenge. Of course, she's gonna go do it. And we do an Indiana Jones style little ... thing going to the next thing. She ends up on the train, and she spots her, and she's like, oh, I'm not going to... She's talking to player, and player's like, oh, you're going to take her down? It's like, no, there's too many people here. And there's only like 3 people on the train. There's not really that many people. But she's like, no, when she gets off, that's when I want to attack her. And she's like, I got to keep an eye on her without her seeing me. But I'm pretty damn sure she saw her as soon as she got on thing. She didn't even try to wear one of her disguises or something. She's wearing normal street clothes with her face full view. Then I thought was pretty interesting. Chase sits down next to her. Oh, hey, Carmen, remember me? And of course she's goofing on him because he's a dummy. And she's like, oh, aren't you out of your jurisdiction? But if he's Interpol, well, technically he can it's international, so I guess he wouldn't have exact jurisdiction. But he's like, oh no, I've gotten more authority, without revealing that he's ACME, but pretty much just kind of saying that he is. And he's like, you're going to tell me everything you know, or I'm going to put these handcuffs on you. And he goes to put the cuffs on her. And of course it goes dark and it comes on and Doofus is tied to the freaking chair. He's just a goofball. And everything he does is wrong. He's yet to do anything cool or worthy of his inspector agent of ACME status. She pickpocketed him and saw the ACME card. And she's like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I guess he stepped up his game. Then she moves to the next car, and that's where Paper Star is. And she's like at the dining hall. She ordered a meal, and it was already served to her that fast. It was, 30 seconds? She ends up taking a seat with Julia, which is kind of fun. I actually think they would actually work really well together. And just by sitting down, she's like, oh, is this seat taken? She's like, oh, it's for my partner. And then she kind of like, oh, my business partner. I don't think she really cared, but I guess it's kind of a... I think Julia kind of likes Chase, but she's so mousy, and I think she cares about him as a person, not so much as an actual good at his job. Like, she cares about him, doesn't want to get hurt or anything, but I think she's just too... The show isn't about that, but I kind of feel that there might be a little something there. And then she's, like, explaining everything, and then she's like, oh, she realized, oh, that's Chase's bag. She looked over because this is CD. Because CD stands for Complete Doofus. And she's like, oh, you're there to go to the Taj Mahal. She's like, oh, no. I wish I could, but I'm there on business. And then she gives like Carmen the bedroom eyes for some reason. It's really funny. But she's like, oh, it's such beautiful history, but I'm here on work. She's like, oh, you don't like your job? She's like, yeah, I do like my job. It's just it takes up all my time and everything. And of course, Carmen just trying to get an eyes on Paper Star. And she's like, oh, well, gotta go. And she just walks away. And she's talking to her. And she realizes, holy crap, that was Carmen freaking Sandiego. She tries to call Chase, and Chase doesn't answer his phone because he's tied to the freaking chair like an idiot. Carmen's walking after Paper Star. She stops inside of one of the rooms. And of course she knows she's there, starts throwing more of her stupid ninja stars at her. And they have a little tussle in the room, and I don't follow fandoms anymore. Steven Universe really killed fandoms for shows for me. And I can just imagine, just see these screenshots. Yeah, they're shipping these two characters. They can't just be rivals. They got to be secret lovers, right? I can only imagine the stuff that people are putting out there. But they're fighting and everything, and I guess during this struggle, Carmen's a really good pickpocket because they've showed it a couple times that she's able to pick your pocket while you're in like a fight or whatever. And she stole her little papers that she has in these little holsters, and she like throws them down the toilet. And then we get another kind of toilet humor joke. Oh, it sucks running out of paper. Okay. I don't know. I'm laughing because it's so silly. It's so out of place. Like, it's like a toilet humor. Like when the last episode when Ivy said, oh, I want a number 2 in my pants. You crapped yourself? Okay, that's weird. But, of course, there's I guess a map or a guidebook like sitting on the table. And if she gets her hands on it, she can make more weapons out of it. They have like a Bruce Lee standoff and they zoom in and everything. They die for it. They get more. The fight goes on. They get hitting each other. She's grabbing the tube that has a Magna Carta in it. I honestly thought that the papers weren't in there. I thought that was going to be like a dummy just to get Carmen's attention, and then she'd stash the papers somewhere else, like in someone else's briefcase, like those people she was walking by. But that isn't true. They keep fighting. They're trying to fight over that stupid pamphlet. Carmen loses it, gives it to her, but that whole time she swapped it and took that tube off her back. They get on top of the train, and they're gonna have a good little fight on top of the train, like in Logan, or what was it, when Wolverine, when they had that subway fight. But they're on top of the thing, and then she throws like one of her paper blades at her. But I was thinking to myself, the train's moving. There's no effing way she's gonna be able to throw this paper hard enough without the wind catching it. And of course, the wind just blows it away. I'm like, yeah, she just has like her physical ability, and she's not gonna be able to use her paper weapons. I guess she could have made like a knife and just used it as like a handheld weapon. They run at each other. I'm thinking, oh, cool, something cool. Paper Star throws a lazy shoulder tackle. Carmen throws a punch. The punch doesn't connect, and the shoulder tackle hits Carmen. I'm like, that was really stupid. That was such a lazy attack, and it was like this really big build up. They have the big like lines passing by, very anime style. They keep fighting. Carmen's throwing a hip toss, but kind of grabs her, like doesn't let her hit the ground. Like, why not just slam her on the ground? Why do you care about her safety? And they're always kind of giving each other these weird looks. Again, I can only imagine the type of shipping that's going on with these two. They're fighting, they're fighting, they're fighting. Things are going on. It's an okay fight. Carmen gets kind of thrown off the side of the train. The girl's walking away. Carmen gets back up, and there's like a ladder from like a bridge that's over the top. She jumps up and grabs it. And the most impossible, crazy thing ever. I don't know if this is like a vent that's on top of a train or like this is above the dining cart. So I'm assuming that's like where the steam and everything gets out. Carmen pops it off and uses it like a discus or a frisbee. That's a good. The screenshot's up on screen right now. What do you think that is? 50? Good, like 27, 30 to 50 yards. She throws this thing enough to. And the train's moving. So if anyone knows anything about inertia, go watch Mythbusters. When you're being pulled away and you throw something, you have to overcome all that inertia going away from you. So if she was going with the train, she would gain all that inertia, but being pulled away. So she overcomes all that, throws this thing, and it cuts the bag. Paper Star saw this coming. Why couldn't she just move the bag to the left or just pick it up? It's ridiculous. She cuts it, she gets it back, and I thought, oh, there's nothing in there, but of course it's in there. Star's just hanging out, and we see that Julia's looking for Chase, and she sees that he's tied to the handcuffed to the chair, and she's like, oh, how did that happen? And he's like, don't worry about it, just go get my keys, they're in my briefcase. She goes and she sees that the tube's there and has all the Magna Carta papers in it, and she's like, Carmen's talking to Player, and Player's like, oh, where's the documents? Oh, they're in safe hands. So she dropped them off with Julia because she knows she's a good guy. She's going to return them to the proper people. Wouldn't it have been great if they weren't in there? That this whole giant chase was for nothing. But we get Carmen's like, hey, looks like Chase has upgraded his status. He's joined another organization. Can you decrypt a card key for me? Card key's gone. She's like, oh damn, like, hey, I guess Paper Star stole it. But wouldn't V.I.L.E be completely aware of ACME, or at least aware that there's none of their agents have ever been caught by ACME or heard through the grapevine or through black market chains or anything? So this whole concept here at the end is kind of dumb. We get back to V.I.L.E. They lost the paperwork and they're talking about it. And Paper Star just interrupts their meeting because she's cool and she can do whatever the hell she wants. And she's skipping and singing again. I don't like that. It's dumb. It's irritating. Just get rid of it. And she's like, oh, I lost the papers, but I never leave empty-handed. And then gives him the ACME card. And Maelstrom looks at it, and that's the end of the episode. I'm assuming this is going to tip them off that there's an organization coming after them. But wouldn't they kind of already know that there's already going to be governments and things like that? And if they're a secret evil organization, there must be a secret good organization going after them. So overall, this episode, while not really bad, like it didn't make any horrific mistakes, besides that weird discus throw at the end, which makes absolutely no sense. It's just an okay action episode. There's a lot of the fighting's pretty good, but it leads up to nothing because even though our paper girl's throwing these deadly weapons, we know she's never going to get hit. We know she's never going to even get close to even being cut. So when you have a character with deadly weapons, and and Carmen didn't use any of her gadgets, it was weird. It feels like this episode should have took place before she met Ivy and Zach, and she still was kind of developing her style, because it felt like she didn't use any of her stuff. Like she didn't have she didn't use her grappling hook. She didn't have her red coat on for the most part. It's just ridiculous. It just felt weird that it just felt out of place. Paper Star, I don't like her. She's kind of a full of herself, jerkish kind of character. I guess that works for a bad guy. I still don't like it. Her hairdo's ridiculous. Her costume's ridiculous. Her paper powers are absolutely ridiculous. Not a good rival for Carmen. I would have liked Carmen to have a rival that was like her in many ways, very slow, calm, calculating, and was able to outsmart Carmen, not necessarily outbeat her up. I think that would have been a better villain for her, a better foil for her to fight, because Chase isn't isn't good for her. He's just a dummy. She just dumps all over him. He provides no challenge to her. It would have been nice to have someone who felt like was one step ahead of her, who always felt like could actually outsmart her in a situation, but they decided to go with this weird origami girl. If I had to give it a number, since they don't even mention Zach and Ivy, Chase is still an idiot. 4 out of just below average, a 4.5 out of 5. And I guess there's only 2 more episodes. 8, 9. There's only 9 episodes, so things gotta kind of accelerate here. There's no big plot. There's no huge caper. I'm hoping the last 2 episodes are 2-parters. Give us something big and grand to look forward to, because this right here, not doing it for me. What happened to Tigress? She hasn't done anything in 4 episodes. They kind of showed her on a vid screen. We need some type of cool big moment to bring this all together. And Zach and Ivy need to do something cool too, not just to be completely left out of an episode. Oh yeah, freaking player had a fidget spinner. Ugh, that doesn't age well. Oh god, that doesn't age well at all. So stupid. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this episode. Not too much discussion here. It just feels ho hum. But the next episode should be up in the next couple days. Be sure to sub, share, like, hit the bell for notifications. And if you like these long form reviews, share them around. Let people know. Join the Discord. I have multiple categories there. The link's in the description below. There's a cartoon category. She-Ra's coming back in April. This got renewed for a new season, so I'll continue on reviewing these episodes, doing these long kind of breakdowns. But thanks for all the comments, guys. I appreciate all of them, even when people who disagree with me or call me an idiot or claim that I'm a racist because I don't like Carmen Sandiego 1,000,000%, even though I'm Hispanic myself. I'm racist against Hispanics. But thank you everyone for watching the videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Crimson Sin here. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, sub, and share. Also, for the most up-to-date information about the podcast, follow us on Twitter at C15 Podcast.